Visitors have reported hearing footsteps behind them. Others describe whispers carried through the darkness. Those stories have helped make Exeter's underground passages one of Britain's most intriguing underground locations. But these tunnels weren't built for the dead. They were built for water. This is Exeter's underground passages. Welcome to Something Stayed Here. Some places don't tell you they're haunted. You feel it when you arrive. So how did a medieval engineering project become a place surrounded by mystery, folklore and the unexplained? To understand why those stories began, we first need to understand what Exeter actually placed beneath its streets. Because this was never one single tunnel, built at a moment in history. It was a system that changed with the city above it. During the 13th century, Exeter Cathedral began bringing fresh water from springs outside the city walls. Water travelled towards the cathedral through lead pipes, but buried pipes created a problem. When one leaked, workers needed some way to reach it. So passages were constructed around sections of the pipeline, not for travelling beneath the city, not as a hiding place, but so a worker could descend into the darkness, find the damaged pipe and repair it. In the following century, the city created another system for its own public water supply. Together, the networks carried water from springs beyond Exeter's walls. They carried them towards fountains and conduits inside them. Above ground, people saw the water appear where they needed it. Below ground, the workers entered a hidden structure that most citizens would never see. That separation mattered, because when people cannot see how something works, they begin imagining what else it might do. The first transformation came during conflict. During the English Civil War, Exeter found itself under threat. The passages carried water from sources beyond the city's defences. That created an obvious fear. If water could enter beneath the walls, perhaps an enemy could use the same route. Parts of the system were blocked. A practical water supply had become a weakness in Exeter's defences, and although these passages were too confined to serve as a convenient military entrance, the fear left behind a powerful idea. There were routes beneath Exeter, connecting the protected city with the world outside. That fear contained enough truth to survive, but with every retelling, its meaning changed. The water conduit became a secret entrance, then an escape route. Stories claimed that hidden passages ran beneath the city, leading to buildings far beyond the known system. Other versions placed priests and nuns inside them, moving unseen beneath Exeter. No surviving evidence shows that the passages were built for any of these purposes. But the real network made the stories believable. The passages did run underground. They did cross beneath the walls, and during the siege, they really were considered dangerous enough to block. History had provided the structure, and imagination only needed to extend it. As the tunnels disappeared from everyday life, other stories occupied them. Some claimed that treasure had been buried beneath Exeter. Others connected the passages with the plague and pestilence, imagining people sheltering from the disease below the streets. These stories are not supported by the known purpose of the system, a cramped maintenance passage carrying water through damp stone. This would have offered little protection or comfort. But folklore rarely begins by asking whether a place is suitable. It begins by asking whether it was hidden. and Exeter had placed an entire world beneath the city, and then allowed most people to forget why it was there. Then there was the strangest story of them all, a ghostly cyclist said to travel through the passages. Some versions even place the rider on a penny farthing. There is no identified cyclist, no known accident explains why he would be there, and the tunnels themselves create an even larger problem. In places, there is barely enough space for a person to move comfortably. Perhaps the story began with a distorted sound, metal striking stone, a wheel passing over the street above, an echo that seemed to travel through the tunnel, or perhaps it survived simply because it was impossible. The secret routes borrowed from Exeter's geography, the siege stories borrowed from history, but the phantom cyclists needed neither. By then, the passages no longer required evidence to produce a story. Their reputation could create one by itself. By the beginning of the 20th century, the medieval water system had reached the end of its working life, but its stories had only begun to travel. Secret entrances, escape routes, hidden treasure, places of refuge, a cyclist who could never have ridden there. Each story placed something new beneath Exeter, and together they changed how later visitors experienced these passages, because anyone entering them today does not enter an empty tunnel. They enter carrying 7 centuries of expectation. And that expectation matters, because in the darkness, sound behaves differently. Distance becomes difficult to judge, and when something moves beyond the light, the mind tries to decide what put it there. So when visitors report hearing footsteps and whispers, or the unmistakable feeling that someone is following them, are they encountering something unexplained? Or are the passages themselves bringing Exeter's oldest stories back to life? This has been Something Stayed Here. Join me next time when I investigate another place where history never quite let go.